Good afternoon. I do say good afternoon. What an amazing day. What an amazing day it's been so far. And I know I have the hardest job because I'm the one that has to either close the show or y'all are going to kill me. So I hope I can close it right. Before we get started, a round of applause for all of my colleagues who presented today, please. Also, I have to acknowledge one particular person in the room who has endured more than anybody in this room, and that is my 11-year-old son, Russell. He asked me, I sent him a text message, JR, how are you holding up? Good. Can we go home now? So I think I know what I gotta go do. I'm better than State Farm, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go ahead and start the presentation, but before we do that, and this is kind of weird, but we can make it work. So basically, for those who don't know me, I am Dr. Russell Robinson, and I've been told that I am the eccentric professor on campus, and I guess this kind of explains it. Let's see. I'm the one that will actually take a skateboard from a student and ride the skateboard in class. Of course, they said, Russell, if you're so damn good, why don't you turn the thing around? Nope. So my presentation involves re-imaging black masculinity during the Obama era. So what I will do for the next couple of moments is give you a brief introduction in regards to why I chose this topic, the challenge and the journey, and also talk about the risks versus the reward, what we had to do. So just a quick brief introduction. You all know how we got here, but here's my story. I had some of the best mentoring you could ever get. I had a full prof in my office named Dr. Matt Cook, who said, Russell, you need to apply for this grant. Why, Matt? You need to apply for it. Why? Russell, just apply. He made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and so I applied. And believe it or not, I was actually just getting back from England when I found out that I'd gotten accepted to this. I was like, oh God, do I still have to take this? Yes, we'll take you, we'll take you. Great, 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 great. So basically, these are the fellows that I had the opportunity to work with, every one of us, my group photo. I gotta lose a couple of pounds though, right? And so here's how we got to this project. Why black masculinity? And yes, someone clowned me yesterday about not having hair. So this is really how we got to this topic. Basically, I got married in the spring of 2004. I became a dad in 2006, became divorced, separated, ultimately divorced in 2010, and I became a full-time custodial parent in 2011. All this during the age of Obama. So I'm like, how and why? So for me, I was wondering, I came up being taught that I was going to be like the next Heathcliff Huxtable. Push everything to the side. But I was thinking I was going to be that one. And so I was like, okay, so thank you. I was going to actually go, I'd married up, we had a house. Next thing you know, I'm now a full-time custodial parent. I'm like, how in the world am I going to do this? So this became a very interesting research narrative for me. It's a part of my research pedagogy, if you will. So I had a challenge when I got the grant. Basically, I've been given money, rah-rah. I've been given resources, rah-rah. I've been given autonomy, so-so. Now here's what you don't get. The release time. We talked about that. You don't get, let's see, you have your regular teaching load. And you also have your service obligations. Oh, can I get an amen? Amen. Amen. All right, so I had to go ahead and negotiate all of this while also maintaining or working on another grant because I too was fortunate to go ahead and get a grant that we had called the Innovation Grant. So I'm actually working on 2 projects simultaneously while still being a single dad, while also having to go ahead and be a part of Faculty Senate, while having to go to everything. Trust me, yes, from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. So here's the class profile, the mission objective basically. The class that I use is one of my favorite courses, American Mass Media Pop Culture 2460. And what we have done is I've really kind of incubated the class for the most part. So basically, we come in and we talk about pop culture issues of the day. We also talk about the conceptual issues as well as the abstract. Then we also recognize that this is a mass comm elective course. So by that, people are like, oh, I can come in and sit down and chill out. Yeah, right, not in my class. So then we also looked at the typical junior profile, which is a sophomore, junior, or senior. And then I unpacked everything for them and said, we are going to talk about black masculinity during the Obama era for the entire semester. Really? Really? Why? It's like, trust me, we're going to do this. You're going to do this and you're going to like this. And you're going to fake it if you don't like it. So anyway, what we did was we had a course objective, of course, was to complete the Digital Humanities Project. So the one thing that I tried my best to do was I recognized my strengths and weaknesses. So I engaged in what I like to use, project-based learning. That's something that I've had tremendous success with. I also had a syllabus. Is the provost gone? Good. I ditched the syllabus. Then after that, I made the syllabus a living document. We became very experimental with the course, too. And so what I did was I made sure that my students went into the field on a regular basis. So we did not come into the classroom where I was the sage on the stage, the barefoot professor, which I normally am. Yeah, I walk around in the classroom in barefoot. But the thing is that I was able to go ahead and make sure we did things explicitly different because this is 2:40 or 2:25 in the afternoon. I have to really compete with their attention at that time. And so let's just give up the ghost. We're not going to have an assigned textbook. One, the textbooks are just too damn high. And two, the reality is I know you're not going to read it. So let's go ahead and make the class a different type of experience where we actually will go ahead and, let's face it, I'm supposed to know this stuff anyway, right? So as the professor, I'm going to talk to you about hegemony. We're going to talk about gender politics. We're going to talk about the social construction of reality. We're going to talk about Habermas in the public sphere. And as we talk about that, we're also now going to bring in a new element, digital storytelling. And usually the best way to get me to do something is to tell me that I can't do it. And that's what I found out. People say, Russell, you just shouldn't do that in this class. Okay. So I took that as an opportunity to say yes. And so from that point, we then decided to create new provocative assignments. So as we're talking about black masculinity, one of the assignments that we talked about in this class was the talk. Now, how many of you all are aware of what the talk is? Right. So I made my students, or I asked my students, as best as I like to be diplomatic, to actually give me a video of you doing the talk to your child as they go to college. That was a rather provoking assignment for them because they actually had some students crying because they realized the realities of that. I have a black son that I'm sending off to college in today's climate. So anyway, what we were able to do is we then, and that's a little typo I think, but we'll fix that. I put students in film crews. And with that, we basically interviewed on-campus professors. We also interviewed out-of-state people who we brought in. Mr. Patrick Riley, a very good friend of mine, he came in for us, and he did a twofer. He was a part of our Speak Out series in our LGBTQ populations, and he also did a speech for me, or a stint for me, part of this documentary. We also had the opportunity to interview Senator Floyd McKissick. Thank you, Dr. McKissick-Melton. Also, we interviewed actually a political activist, Mr. Paul Scott. And so what we then did was I said, we all are now going to create these night timelines. So that was the fun part because I was like, and I joke about this, but it's the truth. It took me 2 hours and a bottle of wine to figure out how to operate this timeline. It took them 20 minutes. So I'm like, okay. So I have a workforce now. So everyone had to create their own timelines. And then what we decided to do was we're going to take the very best of the best and actually work on these things and create the ultimate timeline so we can make this happen. So as you can tell, I had no idea until I actually got into it that this is a lot of spreadsheet operation. It's a lot of D-based management, and you really have to be on point of it. If you're not, you can get lost. And so going back to my question earlier about the D-based management, how do you make sure you don't objectify people? And so from there, I decided to go ahead and actually I took some of the best work, put it together, and this is the results that were yielded. I hope this works. Cool. So what we have here, let me make that big. So what we have is their timeline that they created. Barack Obama's presidency timeline, and we have that. And what I wanted to make sure that we did was that we did not have a Barack Obama love fest. I did not want to do that. I actually wanted to talk about the problems that he faced. And so as we look at that, we go to the beer summit. And so they were able to find video of this and popped it in, and all the video plays. But even more importantly, we went through other episodes. Of course, Obama enters office. And here is where we actually took a student interview.
Well, I mean, I think at the Obama era beginning, probably back in 2007 when he began running for the nomination for the President of the United States. I mean, he was known as a senator from Illinois, certainly someone who was very articulate and eloquent, someone who was excellent as a communicator. But I think that when he broke on the political scene and he received the endorsement of Senator Ted Kennedy, going into the primary season, that it really was a turning point for an African American running for president. We'd had Jesse Jackson before, who came forth in the campaigns in '84 and in 1988, and he certainly had done a remarkable job, but he came out of the civil rights era. This was a gentleman who had not come through the civil rights era, but who had achieved greatness through his work in the state Senate in Illinois and as a U.S. Senator, and who now was proving himself in a way that impressed all of America.
So from there, again, the students became very enthusiastic about this because they were going out into the field. They were not inside of a classroom. And though I have used Dr. Mark Anthony Neal's text, it's better for them to go out and get the stuff on their own. Experiential data trumps what you read in a book 24/7, 365, and twice on Sunday. So we were also able to go ahead and get, probably this is one of the better interviews, one of the best interviews that I found, that we also, again, collected. We talked about Obama and the notion of his support of the LGBT, I'm sorry, that's me and my son, and we were actually at a protest march, and we took that and we popped it in the timeline, self-promotion, I'm sorry. But then you also have this piece right here, which is just as important. The LGBT population, and we really completely divorce ourselves from black men who are gay, bi, or trans. And so this was a gem of an opportunity to have my friend Patrick chime in. And this is a powerful, self-reflective story that he offers to us.
You know, I had a conversation with my father, who is an 83-year-old retired Chief Master Sergeant from the Air Force. Kind of underscores, given he's also from Savannah, that he's a traditional guy, you know, respectful, kind-hearted, analytical. And so he taught me to shape my opinions through research. And when I would go to him for support on writing papers, he would tell me to go deeper. And over the holidays, we were talking about the good old Obama days when we felt not only the joy of having a black president, but we felt like he was responding to us. He heard us. He heard the black community, I mean. And I said to my dad, I said, you know what he did for me? I said, he's the first black president to say the word gay. And my 83-year-old dad interrupts me and says, and it not mean anything negative. So for me, that level of inclusion and intersectionality that we had not seen on such a public stage was on that public stage, and it was coming out of this black president. And he was making, not my dad per se change his mind, but he definitely got my dad and I talking about the LGBTQIA thing that we don't talk about. And not only were we talking about it, but because of Obama, my dad actually let me know that he understood why I appreciated Obama.
Okay, and so from there, again, those who know me very well. They're like, okay, so you tell Russell, don't do it, he's going to go do it. And so clearly I did. These are my students who assisted me. They were here for dinner last night. They could not make it today because they had prior engagements, but they gave me their strength and support and courage. And they actually helped put together a trailer for a documentary that I'm actually working on depicting black masculinity during the Obama era. And here is a brief version of it.
Is more societal, and what society has defined masculinity as, or probably more importantly, what society has defined maleness as. And pretty typically around the world, all cultures, seem to suggest that men are the alpha product, the leaders, the protectors, the providers, and generally people put maleness in that category based on your ability to provide those things that society expects of you, and that is being able to provide for yourself and your family, being able to protect yourself and family, being the head of the household, being the one who is more often than not in charge and doing those manly type things, those rough and tough kinds of things. And out of that societal expectations, we then seek to pass those learnings on to our children.
I think there are certain news outlets that immediately bring up someone's past and not really framing the entirety of who that person was, because we're definitely not defined by our past actions. But I mean, you know, just in terms of media framing, it's just like you're framing this person based off of one or two things in their past actions, not that this person was a brother to someone, a son, a father, you know, trying to frame them in this stereotype that Black men are put in as like thugs or like criminals, or, you know, had like the saggy jeans and like want to be in a rap video and everything like that. You know, the image of the Black men represented in other types of media, like music, like movies, TV, has definitely evolved everywhere else in other aspects of media except for news media, where I think it kind of matters most. That still is kind of in the past, and how Black men are represented.
They told us, you can become anything you want, including the president, but everybody said, yeah, right, until Obama actually made that happen and was reelected. So he became something for children to aspire to.